Welcome to Windows on the World. We've covered social cleansing in many of our shows, the re-engineering of society and the corporate police state, the removal of rights and the plight of those with mental health issues. It's something we've covered, but today we're going to look at the overall picture of how this agenda is being played out and what it means to those who are affected. So we've spoken to Michelle Baharia today in the early part of the show. Now we're going to speak to Piers Corbyn. Piers.
How do you do? Yes, what Michelle said was very important. And I was just going to say a few words about the fight against social cleansing and for living wage housing for all. And the issues of mental health are totally connected with the way social cleansing is happening. And I think the important thing, we've got to have a big united approach covering a whole lot of issues which centre around the social cleansing question. Last week I was at quite an important demonstration outside the Royal Institute of British Architects in Portland Place, near the BBC headquarters. It was run by the Architects for Social Housing and others, and they were there opposing the Sterling Prize Award for so-called excellence in architecture this year. And the prize was going to be given indeed, to an operation which had basically trashed workspaces in South London in the name of yuppification.
Or regeneration.
And, and the point was made there that, look, this RABA, they award things for what they look like, but the social context that they're operating in, which is basically death of communities, destruction of communities, plunder by developers, is ignored. So, we were saying, look, the important thing is the social, political context. And you can see how they see appearance is all, and how on the Aylesbury estate and other estates the councils deliberately run down the appearance of those places in order to justify demolition, when actually they could be patched up for minuscule amounts and then they'd look fantastic, and these architects wouldn't have anything to do there. They'd have to go somewhere else. I gave a little speech there outside the RIBA and spoke in particular about the 9th point of our 9-point action programme, which was the need to have mandatory reports on the sense of belonging and well-being and mental health impacts of any development, because quite frankly, physical and social environment are fundamental to mental health, and one of the reasons I think why, for example, Camden has got one of the highest mental health problem areas is because of the vast amount of little and big regeneration, reconstruction that's been going on for a long time there. I mean, ahead of a lot of the other boroughs. And I made the point at the demonstration, what we've got to do is have a proper united campaign of all these groups in this great big belt around central London, which is, 5 miles wide, going around the whole of London, involves, Lambeth, Wandsworth, Southwark, Tottenham, the East End. They're all suffering massive plunder at the hands of developers, and we've got to have a united fight back.
Yes, but it's happening all over London. I mean, what they're doing is they're kind of linking up these plans, and it's just got the regeneration of this area, regeneration of that area. As we've covered, the whole of South London's basically been done from the Old Kent Road to Peckham. That's right. And if you look at really what's happening in the centre of London, it's going outwards. Mm-hmm. But what we're getting, as I referred to in the earlier part of the show, is that everywhere is looking a bit like Croydon now. Croydon is actually being changed quite a lot as well. But what we're getting is this homogenisation of everything, and the destruction of all the real infrastructure, which is the places of real interest, and the social cleansing of businesses, really.
Absolutely. That prize was given to social cleansing of businesses. Yeah. But okay, that actually, the character of London is being destroyed, and what we got is social cleansing on a bigger scale than the Highland clearances, right, which was an utter human rights abomination, and we're having another human rights abomination. So, obviously the question is how to fight it. And I said on the demonstration, beware of false friends, because there's all sorts of Labour councils and Tory councils who say, oh yes, we're going to do our best to hold back the worst aspects of development. And then they come up with things like, OK, we're going to charge extra council tax to these people. We're going to make them pay us. Well, hang on. That means you're aiding and abetting the social cleansing process.
Yes.
It would be like in the Middle East saying to ISIS, OK, you carry on killing Christians, but as long as you pay taxes to America, you can do it. I mean, that is what it's about. It's aiding and abetting social cleansing, which is the murder of communities, and actually the killing of a high percentage of them through madness, disorientation, and so on.
Yeah, we covered that earlier in the show
Absolutely.
with Michelle, she highlighted that quite well, I think, because this is something that's we're not getting anything about this in the mainstream media, though, are we? The whole of this city is being completely re-engineered, and we're seeing thousands and thousands of people being pushed out. And of course, the people with mental health issues are, as we've been talking about in this show, are not getting any proper help because of this corporatisation, this kind of agenda that's pushing everybody into the community hubs and all the rest of it. So basically they've got this kind of very quick fix that doesn't seem to be working. But if we look at that as far as the architecture goes, it looks like it's the same thing, because I've just been talking to somebody about this new regeneration scheme in Hendon. Apparently one of the tower blocks there that's just been built is sinking because it's been put on a marsh, you see.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
We're looking at this is like very temporary, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, of course, I mean, we've got the phenomena where there's a lot of empty buildings now, or partly empty, because they're just there as money laundering. They're kept empty in order for property values to go up. But what's going to happen down the line? Well, it could well be that London will become richer and richer and richer, and these things we're seeing now are just intermediate. In fact, when you look around Elephant and Castle, you think this is ridiculous. They're so close together anyway. I mean, they're not going to sell like they imagine. And I expect they'll be knocked down again, and it'll be turned into a kind of Grand Long Island, you know. But I think the thing we've got to address now is what can actually be done about
Exactly.
it. Because the councils will play games with people and they'll pretend to do what they can, but actually what they're doing is appeasing plunder. So we have to have clear policies like that 9-point plan that we've read out before. And in particular, I'd like to highlight you've got a red line council and social housing, and say there's got to be no reduction in the number of council secure tenancies in any development. And in fact, we've got to have an increase in the number of council secure living wage tenancies. That's what we've got to have.
I think the other point of this, Piers, is very important, because we're at that meeting where Peter John was there from the council. And Peter
John was at the RAB as well,
yes,
joining in this plunder.
This is the point I'm trying to make, is
the
that
plunder party.
Yes, that these change agents, these people have been put in there to aid and abet this, to assist it, and we don't know what personal gain they're making out of it, if any. But these people are trained to bring in this regeneration at any cost, and that is, I think, where people need to be made more aware of it, because if they knew that all remedy was being taken off them at a local level, they might get more annoyed about it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Now that my brother's got leadership of the Labour Party back with an increased mandate, it should be the case that, Labour members and Labour supporters are now going to be able to focus a bit more on the actual issues. And in all the cities, not just London, the issue of social cleansing and housing is absolutely central. And the key arbiter of deciding if anyone has been effective or not is just, are they going to red line the rights I mentioned? And right now, we've got the leaders of London GLA and the local councils. They're all talking about solving the housing crisis, but I suspect most of them just want to have a little collusion game with developers and say that's the best they can do. And that is definitely the wrong way. we've got to say no to the ring of plunder around London, and we've got to say no appeasement with speculators, developers, or social cleansers.
And that comes into something that I've covered with Niels Axel Morner. We were talking
Absolutely.
about this basically managed retreat of coastal communities. Now, where this comes in is there's two separate cases. There was one in Waltham Forest, which isn't by the coast, obviously, but the same thing happened in Waltham Forest as happened in this little village that we covered in Wales. Basically, what happened is a group was put together to oppose the council, but the council is controlling the group, the Community Action Group.
Right.
And of course, what happened in Waltham Forest was...
So it's false opposition.
It's false opposition because they got a barrister who's basically fighting the corner for the council. They lost the case and they lost their money, and this is very demeaning to people who see the people who do stand up and fight end up getting completely out of pocket and totally demoralised. And that's a very important point, that the way this has been structured and thought out is that everything has been taken into account. So you have to think very much outside the box when you're dealing with these people, because you cannot let them interfere at all. You have to form your own group and don't let anybody else in.
Definitely.
Very important.
Definitely. I've noticed in all these regeneration activities, Wandsworth, Lambeth, Southwark, Tottenham, East End, the council always come up with the word empowerment. We want to empower you people. We want to empower you. We realise you're weak and stupid
and vibrant and
unable
diverse.
to help. Oh, and you're vibrant and diverse and all that stuff. And we want to bring your vibrancy and diversity together. We want to empower you to have your say.
Yeah.
And what that means is we're going to come here and take you over. Yeah. And if any of you are smart and articulate, we're going to trash them out, and we're going to bring forward people who we can brainwash and put them in charge somehow or make use of them against you. So the word empowerment, all I can say is if someone comes anywhere to empower me, I say, well, hang on. Who are you to empower me or us?
Yes, my power comes from within myself.
Yes, it doesn't come from you.
External sources.
We're not being given this power.
Yes.
I mean, if you're coming here to give us power over our community, that means you think you've already taken it away.
Well, it means
I say,
yes.
Go away, we organise ourselves and we put forward principled demands to defend our communities. And in this case, it's the whole of London life.
Exactly. And this is the main thing, is that people have to actually form their own groups and not take any notice of this, because everything now, as we said, is completely stage managed. All these meetings we've been to, they're all the same. They're all run on a thing called Delphi technique, which is to gain group consensus.
Absolutely.
So when they say empowerment, it means giving you a series of questions or things to respond to. Sometimes they ask you what you want, but the outcome's already been decided upon. And that's what we're finding with a lot of this regeneration. They say, oh, it might be Bechtel, it might be Lend-Lease, it might be Wimpey Homes, it might be Barrett Homes, but the deal's already been done.
Of course, it's already been done. Peter John, leader of Southwark Council, had already decided, along with his planning mates, to build a new town on the Old Kent Road. Yet they came to us people saying, we're asking you about what you want done in the area. No. They don't care a damn what we want done in the area. In fact, people will put up their hands in favour of a wider pavement here or there. They'll get any wider pavement here or there, so long as the plunder is done.
Yeah, well, they get what they're given.
Indeed, and they'll have to like it.
Exactly. Well, that's the group consensus, you see, because they're going to say that, well, 80% of people were in favour, you see.
Well, they were probably in favour of a wider pavement, yes, but of course they weren't asked about the big question.
They weren't asked about all the road closures and the loss of their homes, though. Yeah. Okay, well, that's great. There's hopefully a few solutions in there. We've covered this many, many times before, but we try and give new angles on it whenever we can.
In these discussions with the leaders of the GLA and London councils, and indeed it applies to any city and town, we have to say no to the ring of plunder which is being engineered around you now by speculators and developers, and no appeasement with speculation, developers and social cleansers. Put forward demands for the people, not for the profiteers. Thank you.
That's it. We'll see you soon.